MAGA comes to talk. Welcome. I want to talk about these American-hating Team USA Olympians, okay? Each and every single one of them that have talked negatively about our country should be stripped of their spot on Team USA. They should be forced to turn in all of their Team USA Olympic clothing and gear. And that should be it. And then they should be put on a plane back to the United States. Or they could go to some other, or we can fly them to some foreign country that they think is better than the United States. You know, this is disgusting. There's, in the United States, there has been, in the United States, it's not a law, but it's an unwritten rule of being an American. And for the most part, with rare exceptions, there have been exceptions over the years. Governor Newsom was an exception to this recently, and the Dixie Chicks way back when in '03. Americans have an unwritten rule to not talk negatively about the United States when you're in another country. And that's been a rule, an unspoken rule for the most part, but a rule that Americans have abided by for all of modern history. That's just the way it is. And these Team USA Olympians that are trashing this country, they should be stripped of their uniforms. All Team USA gear should be confiscated from them. They should be expelled from the team and offer them a one-way ticket back to the United States or any country in the world that they think is better than this one. Maybe they'd like to defect to Russia or something. I don't know. But I do know this, that they're scumbags, and they do not deserve to wear the flag of our country on their clothing or the uniform that says Team USA. You just don't do that. You just don't do that. And these liberals are out of their minds. So they're starting the weekend with these anti-American Team USA Olympic creeps. And they're going to end the weekend with Bad Bunny. Liberals are out of their minds. You know, Olympians have been stripped of their medals, right? Why not strip them of their spot on the team before they can do any damage? And I will tell you, this is the first Winter Olympics that my wife and I have not watched. My wife and I really enjoy the Olympics, especially the Winter Olympics. And Friday, because we've got the NBC app, Peacock app, we've got the NBC app, and they have a whole section for all the Olympic coverage. They've got the schedule there and everything else. And on Friday, we went through that, and we're like, okay, Saturday, we got this and that, you know, and we haven't watched any of it because of these anti-American Team USA America haters. That's why we haven't watched one event, not one event, you know, and you know, and I really did want to watch it. I've always watched the Olympics. Now, you know, that doesn't mean that everyone on Team USA has to agree or be MAGA or all of that. But when you're representing the country, you keep your mouth shut. It's similar to being in the military when you're on the Olympic team, right? You keep your mouth shut. Too hot to drink. I've had no coffee today. This is very late for me not to have had coffee. Yeah, I mean, I'm disgusted by them. And, you know, I know people are doing the alt halftime show. I don't plan on watching the Super Bowl, period. Now, it's easy for me not to watch the Super Bowl because I could not care less about the Super Bowl in general. But But I'm not interested in that. I mean, why watch it at all? Why watch it at all? You know, Bad Bunny, who's a vocal anti-ICE person, why would you support any of that? Are people that addicted to the Super Bowl that they're going to say, well, I'm not going to watch the halftime show? How many people don't watch the halftime show anyway? Right? The halftime show is when you go to the bathroom, go to the bar, order DoorDash. You know, it's not something that people watch as much as is thought. It's on because people have the game on, so the TV's still on. And by the way, you're still giving them the ratings. So what are you going to do? Mute it when it's on? Give me a break. Give me a break. It's a weekend where the liberals are really showing who they are. You know, if they're not in power, if the liberals are not in power, they always think democracy has fallen and all this crap. Listen, we are not always in power. We had this auto-pin administration of Biden for 4 years, 8 years of Obama, 8 years of Clinton. Do you think we like it when there's Democrats in there? Of course we don't. But we suffer through it. And don't go to other countries trashing the United States, especially when you are wearing the flag of our country like these Olympians are, and you're representing your country. And I know people say, well, you know, they have a First Amendment, right? You have a right to say what you want, but there's consequences to it. That doesn't mean there's no consequences. You know, you just can't go around saying whatever you want all the time without consequences. And you cannot represent the United States on our Olympic team if you're out there trashing what we're doing and telling us that illegal aliens, many of them rapists and murderers and such, are Americans. They really spoiled the Olympics. They really tainted it. I don't even know how we've done. I don't know how we've done, if we, you know, how Team USA is performing. I'm so pissed at them. I'm not interested now. I'm just not interested. Yes, it is cold in Florida. It's in the low 40s right now. It's like 42 when I left the house, 42, 43, which is pretty cold for us in Florida. But, you know, the reason this has all happened, by the way, if you're new, my name's Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk. Make sure that you subscribe. You know, what's happened here is we've let the Democrats take over the educational system, right? From pre-K all the way through graduate school and college. And they've just brainwashed young people to hate America. You know, the generation of school teachers we have now are, you know, the Obama generation, and they're, you know, that's just what it is. You know, as conservatives, we have not really pushed people to get into the educational field, but we need to start doing that. I've been talking about this for years. Mamdani has no authority over ICE. Local mayors don't have authority over federal agents. He can write and sign papers all day. It's meaningless, Mamdani. But no, they're a disgrace. I mean, we got a bunch of bad bunnies on the Olympic team. That's right. That's exactly right. That's the way it is. I mean, you know, and when they come back to this country, people are going to be plenty pissed at them. Even if these jokers attacking our country on Team USA, if they all win 5 gold medals, people are not going to, they're going to be treated like lepers. Mm-hmm. Magasippy, welcome. Welcome, welcome. If you're new, make sure you subscribe. Yeah, I was gonna live stream outside, but it's just too cold. Just like yesterday. It's colder today than yesterday. It's about 10 degrees colder now than it was yesterday morning. But it's going to be in the 70s later today. Young people have always tended to be on the left, you know. But Team USA does not typically go over there and bash our country at the Olympic Games. It's just not. It's just not acceptable. It's over the line. There's just some things that are over the line, and that is over the line what they've done. Completely over the line. Now I saw, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, that the police were at Savannah Guthrie's sister all night long in the middle of the night. They were at Savannah Guthrie's sister's house, and they took in, they were pointing out this silver briefcase. I don't know what that is, some crime scene investigative tools. I don't know what was in that silver briefcase, but I mean, they're looking hard at Savannah Guthrie's sister, it looks like, or the son-in-law. If they've been at her house all night investigating. Yeah, a bunch of mega Rapones, exactly, mega Rapone. And look at her now. She's useless. Nobody cares. She was a loser. Remember the USA women's soccer team lost to middle school boys? I'm not kidding. Look it up. Mega Rapone's so overblown. She's not even a mediocre talent. She has zero talent. It is a beautiful day other than the cold. Hardly a cloud in the sky. Oh, man. I was going to live stream from the beach, but I'm like, this is just too cold. I'm not going to go out on the ocean in this cold. Just not going to do it. You know, it's like, it's all, remember what Vivek Ramaswamy said? You want to be a rebel, you want to be a hippie, go MAGA. Mm-hmm. And he was right about that, wasn't he? You know, they're really the anti-American ones. They're politically correct with the mainstream. You know, all these stories of iguanas falling from the trees in Florida, I haven't seen a single iguana lying on the ground. I see all the news stories on my local news, but I have not seen a single iguana on the ground. I haven't. I've been looking, too, and I haven't seen any. Just because they fall doesn't mean they're dead, though. They're like hibernating. That's, well, you know, they're kids. They have no sense. They have no sense. Good luck getting decent endorsements when they get back. 5,000, that's nothing. We're so overrun with iguanas. That's a grain of sand on the beach. 5,000 iguanas. Now, I haven't seen any iguanas either. I mean, running around, but I haven't seen any laying on the ground. I got to tell you, this Dunkin' Donuts coffee is damn good. I guess it's been just a week that I've been drinking the Dunkin' Donuts coffee. And it's pretty good. No, I'm not going to watch the Super Bowl. Not just the halftime. And I thought it was weird. They had one of the guys from the Charlie Kirk show on Fox yesterday, and they were asking them if they were going to do the Turning Point USA halftime show next year, and he acted like he didn't want to do it. Well, this year they have a villain, right? So, you know, next year maybe they'll have, I doubt it, but maybe next year they'll have like a pro-American person at the Super Bowl. Well, the main thing is getting the coffee with the caffeine in it. This has espresso shots in it. So I get it for the espresso. I really don't really care for coffee either way. I wish I didn't. I'm not a fan of it. I just need the caffeine. But the Turning Point, it would be smart for them to make this an annual event. We used to have that. Remember, we used to have the Puppy Bowl and things like that. That's what they really need. Do an annual halftime show. Now, did you guys see this? Speaking of Turning Point, did you see this strange photograph of Candace Owens and her husband in that red room? Looked like they took a photograph in the parlor at the Devil's House in hell. It was so bizarre. Did you guys see that? It was so strange. I think the deal is with Candace Owens' husband, I think he's just such a fan of hers that, you know, he doesn't have perspective. I think he's just a groupie, a Candace Owens groupie. But that photograph is just strange. I don't know why they would take such a strange photograph with all the red and everything. It's just very, very weird. But, you know, hey, Candace Owens and her husband are a couple of weirdos. I mean, I think we all agree on that, right? They're weirdos. I'm not into posing for pictures. It doesn't mean I don't take pictures, but I'm more for the spontaneous picture. But, you know, she comes from that school of thought that there's no such thing as bad publicity. I don't agree with that. There's certainly such a thing as bad publicity. You know, like Bad Bunny, as an example. Okay. I don't know anything about Bad Bunny. If Bad Bunny knocked on the window of my car right now and I looked over, I wouldn't know who he was. I don't know. I wouldn't know any of his music. I know nothing about him other than he hates ice, you know, and he's Puerto Rican, and he sings in Spanish. That's all I know. There's a lot of pressure on Bad Bunny because a lot of times these big musical acts will go to the Super Bowl and they won't be that good. They'll bomb. They'll tank. It's happened more than once. So if he has a bad performance, right, he'll do a lot of damage to himself. You make yourself such a center of controversy like he's doing. You've got to perform at that level. And if his performance is mediocre, like a lot of Super Bowl performances are, like sometimes like with the Olympics, sometimes the Olympic opening ceremonies are spectacular, and then a lot of times they just suck. You know, we're going to have the Summer Olympics with Trump in office. So if we have any Team USA members bashing the United States in LA, I wonder how President Trump will handle that, because I'm sure he's going to go to the Olympics in LA. He would not be silent about it, I'll tell you that. He'd be very outspoken. And you should be. I did see one report that at least, I don't know about the two guys, but with the lady athlete, the girl athlete on Team USA that was bashing the country, that it was a Canadian reporter that asked her the question. So I don't know if that was some setup that he did, trying to get us to get our athletes to bash our own country. Who knows? You would never fall for that. I'm here to represent the country. I spend so much time training for the Olympic Games that I don't even follow politics in the news. All right, yeah, those are the kind of answers you give. I don't have time for that. I'm here to represent my country. This country's been great to me. Look at me. I'm just some kid from Utah who liked to ski and play in the snow. And now look, I'm representing the country, our country, at the Olympic Games here in Italy. You know, you don't have to. You know, that's the kind of answer you give. Right? But, you know, they're stupid, brainwashed athletes, right? Remember what's the saying? Shut up and dribble. Laura Ingraham, shut up and dribble. You know, athletes, they train so hard and so much. They don't even know what's going on. They don't have enough knowledge about the events to even comment on them. They don't have time to watch the news and follow the news or have perspective. You know. The Dunkin' Donuts coffee is much better than the Starbucks, I must say. At half the price, which is awesome. I like the half the price too. I don't know which is better, that it tastes better or it's half the price. I think half the price. And they're much more polite. You know, the Starbucks, any of you guys old enough to remember Peaches, the record store Peaches? It was a lot of record stores. It wasn't just Peaches. Peaches was the worst, but record stores, like when I was in high school and middle school and we had record stores, Peaches was the worst. You'd go into Peaches or other record stores and they had attitudes. They all acted like they were in a band, right? They thought they were in a band as opposed to just working retail at the record store. And they weren't that helpful to you. That's how kind of like the Starbucks workers are most of the time. They got that attitude, like they're in some hipster group. You know what I mean? Oh, Peaches. Peaches, I think, if I smelled like mostly incense. Uppity attitudes, exactly. Like they thought they were in a band. Yeah. My wife, Kathy, used to work at a record store around when I first got out of high school. And I remember her. We didn't know each other, but I remember her because I used to go to this. It was called Q Records and Tape. And I used to go there all the time, and I'd buy mostly cassettes for my car, but I used to go there to buy concert tickets. And I remember seeing Kathy there, even though we didn't know each other. Pretentious, yeah. That's too fancy of a word for their attitude, but yeah, it applies. Make sure you subscribe. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. This is where MAGA comes to talk. But when these Team USA members that are bashing our country come back to this country, they will probably be on the liberal shows like The View and everything else. You know, one of the things I want to talk about on the next podcast, well, I'm going to talk about this, but The View's under investigation by the FCC for equal time. And, equal time is a big deal, you know, and if you're on radio or television, if you have a candidate on, right, you have to have, you've got to offer equal time to their opponent, to the other side. And that is a very true thing, you know, and if you notice, I don't have, I don't do a lot of interviews, just because that's not really the format of the show. I know a lot of people do interviews and everything. I do interviews on occasion, but I don't do a lot of interviews because, you know, that's not really my format. I like talking to you guys in the audience. But I don't do a lot of interviews with elected officials or candidates, even during election seasons. And the reason that is if someone's running for, like say for example, you know, I have somebody on who's running in the Republican primary for the House of Representatives. There's at least 4, maybe even 7 people running against them in the Republican primary. So if I have one of them on, I've got to offer all of their opponents equal time. And most of them are nobodies that you would want to talk to. And I also got to offer all the Democrats running equal time. It's a mess, and there's paperwork involved. It's a mess because I'm on the radio, and that's how radio works. It's what you got to do, and everybody knows this. And The View just think that they're special, right? They just think that they're special. And The View being under investigation, violating the equal time rules, that is a big deal. People don't think it's a big deal because they don't know. It is a big deal. When you have political people on, there's a stack of paperwork like this thick, like actual paperwork. I know, it's nuts, isn't it? Yeah. And them with the equal time is a big deal. The women on The View are too stupid to understand and arrogant. And with all the new media out there with cable, you know, which it doesn't apply to cable, doesn't apply to the internet and things like that, people don't realize how big of a deal it is, but it is. If you're on broadcast media, equal time to guest is a big deal. Like as an example, you know, if I have the somebody who's running for county commission, I got to have everyone else. I've got to offer everyone else who's running for that county commission seat the same time on the radio. That's crazy. And when you're local, these people don't care. They're so desperate for the attention. They'll all want it. And it is enforced. Equal time is enforced. It doesn't mean that you've got to have people on with equal opinions. What it means is when it comes to political candidates, you've got to offer equal time to their opponents. So The View is in a bunch of hot water. That show is so poisonous. I don't know why ABC really keeps it on. It is just a poison place. Equal time equals government overreach? Yeah, but it's the way it is. It is the way it is. It's one of those things I don't agree with it. It used to be much worse. Much worse. But I, you know, like, you know, when they start investigating that in detail with The View, I don't know what ABC will do. They might take the show could go off the air over it. But you know, The View, since it went on the air from day one, has always been a poison place. I don't watch it or follow it anymore. You know, when they're in the news like this, I'll see it on X. I was like, oh, okay. But, and I wonder what their ratings are really like. Do people really watch it or just clips of it on social media? Probably mostly clips on social media would be my guess. I mean, who's going to sit and watch those old ladies bicker? And the arrogance. Whoopi Goldberg. The arrogance of Whoopi Goldberg. She's the worst. Why would you deport Melania? She's a legal, naturalized U.S. citizen. Yeah, I haven't seen a single story yet about how Melania did over the weekend and this past week as a whole. at the box office. What does that tell you, huh? Exactly. That it's doing very well in week 2. That's it. You know, there's also a lot of reporting about the Washington Post layoffs. You know, the Washington Post, I don't like to see anyone lose their job. Anyone. But, you know, a lot of people say, well, you know, who reads newspapers? If a newspaper is doing good work online, they'll still have readers. So the problems that the Washington Post are having, the reason the Washington Post is in the situation it's in now, it's obviously no longer an arm of the deep state. You know, if you go back to the Woodward and Bernstein era, and I'm not sure when it ended, but the Washington Post was a CIA operation. And it's obviously not that anymore. They wouldn't have these mass layoffs. But the reason people aren't reading newspapers is not because of the new media, it's because of what they're putting out. You read newspapers online now. And, you know, I still read newspapers online. I used to read the Daily Mail more than once a day, but the Daily Mail has become so anti-Trump, it's not readable. Plus, they put a paywall up. So at least half their stories are behind a paywall, so I don't have time for that. But I still read newspapers online. Yep. Make sure you subscribe if you are new. I mean, it's not my first place to go for newspapers, but I was so excited when the internet was new, you know, and I didn't have to go to them for my news anymore. It was so liberating. But a newspaper could still survive if they adapt to the times. I mean, look what I've done that. You know, I was on AM radio. I'm on AM and FM radio now. But I added in the new media stuff, my podcast, online things, you know, like this. You know, you can be more successful in traditional old-time media outlets if you incorporate and grow. Oh, yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about was Green Day at the Super Bowl. So Green Day has this anti-MAGA thing they're doing. Green Day, they're probably about my age, maybe a little older. And when Green Day came out, you know, we had this great era of this early 90s music, right? This grunge era. Nirvana. Pearl Jam was before that. But, you know, oh, gosh. What were some of the bands that came out around Green Day? Some great bands. And I remember the first time I heard Green Day, I was like, wow. They are Bush. Yeah, Bush. I mean, there's a lot of the... What are some of the bands of the Green Day era? Bush, yeah, forgot about Bush. Foo Fighters, Nirvana, of course. Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, absolutely. I mean, these are great bands. Great bands. Korn, oh, yeah. Red Hot Chili Peppers, yeah. I mean, that was a great era for music. My wife likes 80s music more than 90s. I like, I like the early 90s music. You know, I listen to the early 90s stuff more than I listen to the 80s music. Henry Rollins, yeah. And this is what Green Day's mistake is. Linkin Park, yeah. Green Day's a Gen X era band. Do you think that's fair to say? They're a Gen X band, generation band, and they've not grown with their audience. I saw them playing. They look ridiculous with the hair, the dyed hair and the makeup and everything else. You know, they look, it kind of reminds me of Bob Costas when he would, you know, his hair looked like shoe polish. You know, they've got makeup on, they dye their hair. I don't care if I go gray, so what? I mean, you know, my hair's gray. You know, I've been gray for years. I don't care. You age. You know, and you guys hear me talk about this a lot. You know, I've been doing this since I was a teenager. Right? So, and now I'm 54. I don't know how old the members of Green Day are, but they got to be around about my age. They've not grown with their audience. Yeah, some great. I'm glad you guys are naming some great '90s bands because I'll add some of them to my playlist. But they've not grown with their audience. Green Day is a Gen X band, so their core audience are Gen Xers. Really, what Green Day is, and these guys don't realize it. Yeah, Jane's Addiction. They're an oldies group now. Green Day is an oldies group. Would you guys agree with that? Now, nothing wrong with that. You know, hey, listen, the 80s and then early 90s are oldies music now. They're an oldies group, and they don't realize it. And they're trying to attract young people like these idiotic Team USA people that are trashing our country. And they're not interested in listening to these grandpas up there, right? Green Day's audience are people my generation, my age, and we don't want to hear this anti-MAGA crap. And they're wasting an opportunity. If they wanted to sell a lot of downloads on Spotify and have some hits again, they would come out there and be pro-Trump and be MAGA and be pro-United States, grow with their audience, and give their audience what they want. And I remember I was watching when Green Day was new, and I heard them on MTV. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And there was a big event on MTV I was watching. I don't know if it was the MTV Awards, but Kurt Loder was there. It was outside, and it was this one year. Maybe some of you will remember this. No Doubt, which is another great band of that era. No Doubt was playing, and they were new, and they were playing like it was outside in New York, and No Doubt was playing like on the roof of the entrance to whatever the venue was. They had like a stage there on the roof, and Green Day was coming up, and Kurt Loder said, somebody said, oh, Green Day's next. And I remember Kurt Loder saying, who's like 92 years old now, Kurt Loder saying, Green Day is the best new band this year. And I'm like, wow, let me hear. And I didn't really think too much about Green Day till I heard Kurt Loder say that. And then when they came out, I'm like, yeah, they're badass. And now I look at them, Green Day over the weekend, Pantera, yeah, they're embarrassing themselves. They're embarrassing themselves. They're trying to pick up young people to follow them that have no interest in them. And the way that it works with oldie bands, whether it's, Green Day or anyone else, no one's interested in any new music they have. People just want to hear their old songs. And the people that want to hear their old songs are the people that listened to them when they were in middle school, high school, or college. The way music generally works, whatever music you listen to in middle school, high school, or college is what you're into. And like I'm a big fan, and you guys will laugh, but I'm a big fan of 10,000 Maniacs. I love the 10,000 Maniacs. I have the 10,000 Maniacs on my playlist, but I don't have any Natalie Merchant songs on my playlist. I'm not interested in anything Natalie Merchant did after the 10,000 Maniacs. Poison, awesome. But I like the 10,000 Maniacs. So you go to, I love the 10,000 Maniacs, but I'm not interested in anything Natalie Merchant did after she left. So Goo Goo Dolls, they're awesome. Yeah, I got to update my playlist. But Green Day, if Green Day would have come out and been MAGA and pro-Trump, they would be so hot right now. Monday would have been a big day for downloads. They would have made millions of dollars. And if they came to town, how many of you that are around my age, that are Gen X, MAGA, if Green Day would have come out with being pro-Trump, pro-MAGA, and they came to your town, would be like, hey, let's go see Green Day in concert. Look how the Village People embraced Trump with YMCA, right? The main guy from the Village People, he wrote that song. So you know how much money he made? And he knew that he was raking in the dough with Trump. And he not only did the Village people, they went and played for Trump. That's what you do, you know. And Green Day, they think they're fight the power, fight the power. They're fighting for the establishment and for the New World Order. They're so stupid. Exactly. You know, I bet they take all those Trump tax cuts from the big, beautiful bill, Green Day. But it's just so stupid. Young people are not going to be downloading Green Day this weekend. Not going to happen. But if they came out pro-Trump, I might have gone through their playlist and added Green Day to my playlist. 70s, I like 70s music, 80s music. That's all the music you grew up with. But when I'm listening to music by myself, I mostly listen to that early 90s grunge era and 80s. Early 90s and 80s is what I listen to mostly. But I won't be listening to any more Green Day, I'll tell you that. So stupid. People are so... Celebrities in general are just stupid people. Right? America first means America alone. I'm not exactly sure what... I would agree with that. You know, you want to have friends and allies, right? Don't you want to have friends? It's called networking. What's wrong with... you know, to use a YouTube term, it's a collab, right? It's a collab. But I'll talk about all these things in some more details and take your calls on the next podcast. I'm deciding what I'm going to do today. I was going to go and make a vlog for my other channel, but I wasn't counting on it being so cold. I don't do well in the cold weather, guys. Smashing Pumpkins, yeah, another great group. Yeah, that's a great era for me. My wife does not like that era. She doesn't like that early 90s stuff, but I do. Well, you know, at that time I was like a club guy, going out to all these clubs. When I was that age, I was in radio still then, and all my friends were radio people, but they were all the Offspring. Yeah, they were all. They were DJs at all the music stations. So all my friends were DJs. I was pretty into that music back then. Oh, Queensryche, I forgot about them. Offspring, awesome. Gin Blossoms, I saw the Gin Blossoms in concert. Yeah. Oh yeah. The Gin Blossoms, though, they weren't there alone. There was another act with them when I saw them, and they were the opening act. For some reason, I saw the Cranberries, and I want to say the Gin Blossoms played before the Cranberries came out. I could be wrong about that, but they were like the opening act for the Cranberries. It seems to me that I may be wrong, but that seems familiar to me. Pearl Jam's awesome. Absolutely. Counting Crows, yep. Yeah, Mr. Jones, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Yeah, there's a great group. So I'm going to be doing a lot of updating to my playlist. There's some of these bands I've forgotten about. Well, regardless of this, we're MAGA, and, you know, we can have these Olympic Team USA jerks trashing our country. Big mistake on their part. I mean, how many of you are like me and my wife, are not watching the Olympics because of these anti-American Olympians? And I've always liked the Winter Olympics better than the Summer Olympics. The games are more fun to watch to me, but not watched one single bit. And we were really planning on it. No, they took the fun out of it. Snowboarding's awesome. Yeah, the Winter Games are much more fun to watch than the Summer Olympics. I don't know why that is, but to me they are. I guess I just like the sports more. They're more the Winter Games. I guess they're more dangerous, right? Some of these things they do are pretty dangerous. The Summer Games are there's not as much drama, or risk, you know. So, but hey, you know, we're going to have the Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, hosted by our favorite president, Donald Trump. So that one I'll be watching. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But we'll definitely be watching the Summer Olympics in 2 years. I mean, think about it. We're going to have such a great time. That'll be not this summer, but the following summer. It's going to be awesome. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this switch to Dunkin' Donuts coffee has been a very good. This was the first coffee I've had today, right? I actually slept in till about 6 a.m. today, which is unusual. Because you guys know I'm usually either live streaming with my coffee around 5 a.m. or I'll do like a podcast at 5:30 in the morning. I didn't wake up till like 6 a.m. today. And I went to bed really early yesterday, so I don't know. It was nice to sleep in. So this is my first coffee, and it woke me up pretty well. The Dunkin' Donuts has done a good upgrade. If you're new to my channel, make sure you subscribe, all right? This is where MAGA comes to talk. You know, what's going on with ICE in Minneapolis is amazing. Tom Homan said that throughout the state, that the county sheriffs who run the jails are turning people over to ICE all over the state of Minnesota. I just would love to have been listening in on that phone call between President Trump and Tim Walz. Whatever President Trump told Tim Walz changed everything. When's the last time you've seen Tim Walz standing out in front of his fake pickup truck making speeches? You know, not for a couple weeks, have you? No. Even Fry has been quiet for the most part, you know. So whatever he said to them, whatever he said to Tim Walz really freaked him out, didn't it? But I was talking at the beginning of the stream that it was reported that the local police in Arizona were at Savannah Guthrie's sister's house all night long for hours, 3-4 hours. They may even still be there. A lot of cops, and they're saying, I read this morning, they said the ransom is $6 million. Now that latest video, I hope her mother's alive. I hope and pray. But that video, the new video from Samantha Guthrie when she said, we'll pay, she said, let her go so we can celebrate with her. And that's such a weird thing to say, so we can celebrate with her. So my first thought was, what would they be celebrating? I mean, that sounded almost like funeral talk. And then I was wondering if it was some coded response to the message in the note. Because it was such a strange thing to say, wasn't it? But if the police had been at the sister's house overnight for hours and hours and hours, definitely the sister and the son-in-law, or the son-in-law alone, is at the top of their suspect list. When most murders that happen are not random. It's they're either over money or sex, or both. And most people that are murdered by someone in their immediate circle. Most all of them. There's very few that are random, you know. So, you know, but they remember they impounded the sister's car a couple days ago, and then they're into the house. So I'm very interested in what they were looking for there. They got something. I mean, to be in a family member's house like that after you've impounded their car, they're definitely at the top of the suspect list. I hope the mother's alive. I really do. It's just god awful. I just don't know what Savannah Guthrie's going to do. I just don't see her ever, no matter what happens. If her mother comes home alive, she's going to be so messed up because of her age. And I just don't see Savannah Guthrie being able to go back to the happy Today Show. That's all, you know, about fun things. If she returns to NBC, she's gonna. I would think she would become a more serious correspondent, like a crime correspondent or crime person, true crime person or something, because I just don't see how you could go from this god-awful traumatic event, regardless, even if it turns out in the best way possible, which is her mother coming home alive. But it's been a week today, so the longer it is, the more unlikely. But who would have thought that Elizabeth Smart would have been rescued, right? That was amazing that Elizabeth Smart was recovered. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And she was gone for a while, right? So it's possible, but no matter how it turns out, I just don't see how she can go back to doing a show that's all about happy, fun things. I just don't see it. It's got to be just life-altering, so much as trauma for the entire family. And what would it look like? Yeah, becoming a John Walsh type is what she could become, a John Walsh type. And that would be good. I think that would be a better way for her to go in general. Well, listen, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Click the notification bell, and I'll see you on the podcast later today, all right? Take care. I'm Brian. This is where MAGA comes to talk.